Hey guys, it's Ali Duzette, and today we're talking about why do bad things just keep happening to you? Why? And really, what we're talking about is the trauma cloud, and I'm really excited to share this information with you. Okay, you have seen this before. What I'm talking about today is that thing where bad things just keep happening to you and you can't catch a break. The good people that they're like so great and bad stuff just keeps happening. And sometimes this stuff can happen for years. I mean, there was a family that I knew. I'm trying to even remember what happened to them. It was just like this kid got cancer, that kid got cancer, that kid got an undiagnosed like weird thing. This other person got a major injury. The other person like needed massive surgery and had some organs removed. Like literally every person in their family just like had problem after another. That comes back to this issue. And it can last for years. It can happen in stupid ways that feel like ridiculously petty, like you see in the movies. The person is suddenly homeless and their car breaks down and their boyfriend breaks up with them and then it rains. Like what? And it's all just tons of trauma, just way too fast. So what is the deal? How come this happens to people? How come sometimes a ton of problems all just happen at the same time and it feels like way too much? I mean, the phrase coming to mind is like, God never gives us too much or like more than we can handle. You've heard that before. You must be able to handle it because God never gives anybody more trials than they can handle. Okay. To understand what's going on and why this happens, we have to back up. Okay. So you can ask your body, ask the divine for your own witness of this. Like, I'm not telling you to believe this, but I want to talk about my understanding of, why we are here on the earth and how things work here. So we're going to look at the very beginning, the fact that we did not originate on this earth. We didn't originate with the origination of our bodies. Okay, this concept that our spirits are older than our bodies and that we came here to this earth already traumatized. We came here already having problems, right? We had false beliefs, we had unhealed wounds, we had issues from before we were born. Okay, we know we were not perfect before we were born, right? This is like how you are now is probably about as perfect as you have been in your existence. When you get a bunch of imperfect people hanging out together for eons, millennia, they hurt each other, and that is how it works. So we came here wounded, and then we got even more wounded. Who had a perfect childhood here? Nobody. So guess what? We started out with our unremembered issues that already presented immediately. I mean, for those of you who have kids, kids show up with a personality. They show up with things that they like and don't like. Some of them show up mean. Do you have any of those? I definitely have one. But like, guess what? People show up how they were and how they are, and this is how it is. And in my understanding, we're here on this earth to heal those wounds and start changing how we think. Okay, because all of our emotions are predicated on our belief systems. We change what we believe, we shift how our emotions work, and that changes our entire functioning for our entire being. And we're here on this planet to use our physical body to help us shift our spiritual functioning. So to me, what it comes down to is universal law. And I think this actually predates religion. I think this is not a religious concept at all. I think that the universe operates on laws, and because of that, also so does God. And that the laws came first, and then came things like the 10 Commandments and these different rules that different religions have created. All of these religious rules are really an invitation for people to live in alignment with the universal laws. When we live in alignment with the universal laws, that's when our spirits heal. And these universal laws, these are things like choice and accountability, like consequences. If you do something, you can't stop the consequences. the universal laws, like it's not okay to steal things from other people. If you have earned something, then you should have it. You should have what you have earned. When we violate things like this, when we try to separate, when we try to negate our consequences, when we try to unfairly remove from others the consequences of their actions, for example, like they worked hard, they got a thing, and then you steal the thing, like that is breaking universal law. I think it's bigger than any religion, and it calls to us really negative consequences. And so here we are on this earth, we've forgotten everything that we ever knew before we came down here, and now we just get to deal with pure consequences, the pure consequences of our belief programming. We forgot all the scenarios that led us to the place that we are. And now we can just deal with what happens to a spirit in a body who has your exact profile of belief programming. Well, let's just see. And basically all of our earth life is just a reflection of where we're at. And that's basically how it works. And we're here to use our physical body to shift that spiritual functioning. Again, I don't consider my work religious, but I did want to talk about these kind of religious concepts. I think they're interesting. This is from an essay called "From the Body: A Burden or a Blessing" by Barbara Lockhart. And it says, in his classic discourse, The 3 Degrees of Glory, Elder Melvin J. Ballard admonishes us to overcome all things in this life. We will not lose the tendencies of the flesh when we die and go to the spirit world. They will be with us, he says. It is my judgment that any man or woman can do more to conform to the laws of God in 1 year in this life than they could in 10 years when they are dead. It is much easier to overcome and serve the Lord when both flesh and spirit are combined as one. The body is sacred and central to our progress. The spirit, however, must take the lead. Okay, so the point of this, to me, the reason why I'm sharing it to you is this concept of spiritual progress being much faster when you're alive than when you're dead. Why is it so much easier to overcome things when your spirit and your flesh are combined? Okay, why? Like, if this is true, which you can just ask your own self if this is true, like don't believe it because it's in a slideshow on the internet, but you ask about it. And then if or when you feel like, oh yeah, no, that is a true principle, we got to ask why. Why is it easier to progress when the flesh and spirit are combined as one? This is my hypothesis. When the spirit brain and the physical brain are occupying the same material space. Okay, wait, pause there, because you had a spirit first. Your spirit has a spiritual kidney, has a spiritual esophagus, spiritual skin, spiritual brain, spiritual everything. Everything your physical body has, your spiritual body also has, even the stuff on the inside. Okay, like all of your organs, they were created spiritually first. Okay, inside of your physical body, you have spiritual organs as well as physical organs. Okay, so back to the thing. When your spirit brain and your physical brain are occupying the same material space, meaning that you are alive. If you are alive, this is the case for you. Chemical reactions are possible that can create faster, more effective, and thorough change than is possible when the spirit is alone and without a body. Okay, and I talk about this later? I do. So we'll go back to this concept. When theologians, like on the previous page, speak of spirits being unable to progress as quickly without a body, I believe this has a scientific backing and comes down to the connection between body and spirit and the power of chemistry and the power of neurology. The body allows us to physically process and change physical neural pathways. Like in your brain, you can read a neurology book, changing your neural pathways by changing the way that you think. You can change your brain physically by changing the way that you think. And when we do that, we're also changing our spiritual neural pathways. And to be honest, I'm not sure how much those were capable of changing without the vessel of the body. I wonder if it does require chemical reactions that are just not possible without the actual chemicals, right? I really wonder that. To me, this is why developing habits with your physical body impacts your spirit so profoundly, and why The earth is really the greatest opportunity for healing and developing your spirit. Okay, this is another little religious thing from the LDS Church website page on the spirit world. It says, spirit beings have the same bodily form as mortals, except that the spirit body is in perfect form. Spirits carry with them from earth their attitudes of devotion or antagonism toward things of righteousness. They have the same appetites and desires that they had when they lived on the earth. This is referring to after people die. But my newsflash is, what if it is the same from before we were born? What if before we were born to here, it's the same thing? We came with us, we brought with us the same attitudes and or antagonism. We, this concept, what if this concept is a true concept? Through all transitions of through the veil in either direction. Okay. This is the whole point. We're using our bodies to heal our spirits. Okay, that we have this incredible opportunity to use our physical bodies to heal our spirits. And that is kind of the point. Like, that is the entire point as far as I'm concerned. It's my hypothesis. And again, I'm not going to say any of this is true. You ask for yourself. We come to earth with our attitudes and desires, and we leave earth with our attitudes and desires. And the earth itself is the place where we can change all of it. And we get to use our bodies combined with our agency to shift all of it if we choose into that. Because bodies burn things. Bodies are factories, they are machines, and they burn things. Just like you burn fat, you can burn trauma. This is the whole concept behind my scribbling technique, by the way. I can't believe I didn't put a link in it, except I can, because I wrote this slideshow at like 10:30 at night, and my normal bedtime is 9. But allyduzette.com/scribbling. I love that page. It teaches you how to use your body to burn trauma. Okay, all emotions are chemical, and as you work through them, they burn out of you just like you burn fat. This is called a kinesthetic transmutation of emotion. So kind of like you can set the intention that when you go running, you're going to run out your anger at your whatever, and you can go running and come back and feel different. That's how it works. Our emotions are chemicals, and just like you burn fat, you want to burn the traumatic chemicals that are inside your body. Our earth lives give us a chance to burn our past traumas and false beliefs and everything else that is not in alignment with our true identity. And this is a Bible scripture that came to mind. He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he will purify the sons of Levi and refine them like gold and silver, and they will bring offerings in righteousness to the Lord. And that came to my mind because it's all about burning, okay? Burning out of the silver, the stuff that does not belong, in a literal way, literally with fire. And, we don't burn literally with fire inside our bodies, but we do burn with chemical reactions. We're all here to work through the imperfections that existed within us from before we were even born. That is my philosophy. We need to heal from all of our wounds through all of time. Okay, so back up. What does that mean? That means it's not just about healing your childhood trauma. It's about healing from all of your trauma from the past bazillion years, because if you're an eternal being, you probably have a huge mountain of trauma that you don't remember from before you were born. And all of that needs to heal here. Or, of course, obviously, people don't do that. Like, obviously, most people don't do that. I mean, and that's why I think, in the Christian concept of the millennium or the yogic concept of the new age, both of them refer to 1,000 years of peace. During that 1,000 years of peace time, I hypothesize that a lot of the time that we spend there is going to be doing this work and using our bodies to heal from the things that we don't remember from before. And so anyways, this is my hypothesis. We need to heal from all of our wounds throughout all of our time, not just our childhood issues. And that's really exciting because our bodies can actually burn up these traumas just like you burn fat. And that's great. But what is not great is when our systems are flooded with more than we can handle at once. And I actually do think that can happen. because you have a part of your biology that is in charge of moderating how much trauma comes down to your space at once. Okay, so pause, because our bodies, um, you know, so if you buy into this idea that we've existed for millennia, think of how much trauma you can incur in one day. Think of the most traumatic day of your life, and now realize, if you will, that your spirit has been alive for millennia longer than you can imagine. Okay, imagine that you have existed for tens of thousands of years. Think of how traumatic one single day can be. And most days aren't that traumatic, hopefully, but some days are. And now think about this on the backdrop of 10 million years. Okay, how much trauma are you carrying with you? How many weird scenarios have you gotten yourself into that you don't even remember? And now you're here. All of this trauma, you need to sort it out, or rather, shall we say, you have the opportunity to sort it out. And where is it being stored? Your body is not big enough to store the chemicals of all of the junk you've been through in your whole existence. Like, I don't think it can fit. And so this is why we have what I call the trauma cloud. Okay, the trauma cloud is this concept. And I see it like a cartoon speech bubble. It is above people's heads. Like if you were to see it with your own spiritual eyes, you'd see people walking around with a big old speech bubble on top of their heads, and it's full up of all of their trauma from all of existence. And it comes down in that little point, and it's supposed to be dripping down just a little bit at a time in a controlled way, so that as you live your life, a little bit of stuff comes down every day to be burned out, to be worked out of your life. And I call this the trauma cloud. No one told me about it. I just started seeing them, and I asked what it was, and that's when I got all this information. I just asked. I said, what is going on? What am I seeing? What is happening here? And so that is what I got. So good. You ask for your own witness, and decide what you think. But in your physical body, your liver is in charge of burning fat and how much fat you burn at once, right? And so if your liver has a big problem, you're not going to burn any fat. Like, that is how it goes. If your liver is, overcome with, say, heavy metal toxicity, if your liver is full of pesticides and plastic pieces from, the chips rubbing on the inside of the chip bag, and then you ate them and they had microplastics, like, you overload your liver, you're not going to burn any fat. Your liver's too busy just trying to get through the day, because your liver's also in charge of moderating your hormones, right? When we have a hormone problem, it's a liver problem. Your liver is supposed to be breaking down used up hormones. And if it's overloaded and overwhelmed, it can't. And that's when you get, especially estrogen dominance. Of course, fat is a form of estrogen, or at least it, it kind of creates estrogen. It acts as an estrogen. So your liver getting overburdened by junk, like physical junk from this world, pesticides, plastic pieces, heavy metals, all the weird stuff we're exposed to in life these days. Your liver gets overwhelmed, it shuts down fat burning. It's just trying to survive. Okay. And it's kind of the same with the trauma cloud. The trauma cloud, if it gets too overwhelmed, it can also stop functioning, just like your liver can stop functioning if it gets overwhelmed. So again, the trauma cloud looks like a cartoon speech bubble dangling above your head. It contains the complete record of, what the yogis might call karmic baggage, but basically all of the accumulated stuff that you need to clear from your own childhood and from anything that happened before you were born, if you believe in that. In its ideal function, it's dripping down little bits and pieces to process trauma just a little bit at a time. But it can explode or break down when exposed to large amounts of trauma. And I say that it literally looks like an explosion went off and like the thing is splintered and fragmented. It looks like it can be looking like it's busting at the seams. This thing can become a big mess if something horrible happens. Like, imagine a car accident. You get in a car accident and your body has, whatever problems it has, from the car accident. It's kind of the same thing. When you have emotional trauma, it can do the same thing to your emotional body, right? To the part of you that is strictly emotions. And so when that happens, it doesn't function very well. Okay, this is a picture I took from Wikipedia, so common source media. It's a burette and Erlenmeyer flask as part of a chemistry experiment. The red and white piece right here makes sure that only one drop comes out at a time. And I don't know if you've used that before, but you can really make it so it's just one drop a minute. You can turn it all the way to one end and it can just let everything out all at once. It's a precision instrument that makes it so that you can measure things with real, you know, precision. Like if you have to put in exactly X amount of drops into the flask or exactly X amount of milliliters into the flask, you can use that little piece to make sure that just exactly the right amount comes out at once. And you can set it. You can set it so that it's open all the way and it's flowing completely with no obstructions. And you can set it really tight so just one drop comes out a minute and so on. And we kind of have the same situation going on with our trauma clouds. That is what I have seen, is that ideally the system is working like what we're seeing here on this slide, that they're just dripping down a little bit at a time for us to handle and process. However, in times of trauma, I mean, imagine this little set getting in a car accident. Oh, and it gets shattered, right? And it doesn't even function anymore. But imagine that the water or whatever is going on inside of this tube, it still needs to come out. It still needs to come out. But now all of the pieces that made it possible to titrate it, to like make it go slow, to control it, they're destroyed. Okay. And so what's going to happen is all of this stuff is just going to pour on down and there's nothing stopping it. There's nothing to stop it. And it just comes. And there's no, it seems like there's no moderating factor. This is when trauma pours down on us like it's a waterfall. And I know you've seen that in other people's lives, and maybe you've seen that in your own life. And we definitely see it on TV, where people just have, from bad to worse, and like everything happens all at once, right? When it breaks, you get tons of negative energy, just all of the gunk that you're here to process, flowing down all at once without any kind of moderating force at all. There's no natural slowing it down. All of our unresolved stuff tries to get resolved at once. That's basically what it is. It's basically this concept that our spirits, I believe they innately know that we're here on this earth to learn how to live in accordance with universal law. They're here to break down and heal from the past trauma of the past million years. And we're using our physical bodies to try and do that. And we have this whole big storage of our unresolved stuff that's supposed to be coming down just a little bit at a time. And then it breaks down, and all of our unresolved stuff is trying to get resolved all at once. And how do our unresolved stuff, how does it get resolved? Well, our bodies act as magnets and they call to us stuff that reflects the stuff that we need to heal. Okay. So that it can be brought into our awareness, so we can see with our own brains, like how our belief systems are not working out, so that we can change them. Like all of what we go through is this huge gift for us, so that we can see with this mirror what is working for us, what is not working for us. Okay. And I think this is just how it works. I think that that's how reality works, is that everybody sees, everybody calls into themselves their experiences based on, their unresolved trauma and the stuff that they need to figure out in their own lives. And that's just how it works. We're trying to resolve all of our stuff. Our spirits know we have to do it, and so they want us to do it. And then when the system breaks down, they don't know how to stop it. Like, it just happens. Well, it's kind of like if your kidney breaks down. If your kidney breaks down, do you know how to stop it? Like, no, you don't. Like, if your lungs stop working, you got a big problem. If you have your different organs start having problems, like your consciousness can't fix it. It doesn't know how. Or like maybe you're a surgeon and you do know how, but like then you need some surgery. Like, there are certain kinds of injuries that don't fix on their own very often. And like maybe sometimes they do, but most of the times they don't. And I believe this is true on a spirit body level and on a physical body level. If you need surgery and you don't get it, it's not like your organs are just gonna, spontaneously fix themselves one day. Like maybe, but it's a little unlikely. And it's kind of the same with things like this. When part of your energetic anatomy breaks, I don't know, you kind of basically need surgery. anyways, when this is broken down, you also tend to feel very overwhelmed, a lot of fear in this space, because people get used to this thing of like, oh my gosh, things will never stop coming. They start getting this big fear. What if it never stops? To me, that's almost a little bit of a legitimate fear, because I don't know, unless you fix it, many times it doesn't stop. And it can feel like you never catch a break. So what do? You have to fix the pieces. You have to put the cloud back together and remind it how to function. And when you do that, you will absolutely and noticeably recognize the change of flow in your life. It will change the flow of your life. And you can just ask about this yourself. Again, don't take my own word for it. Like, I don't want to, lead anybody astray or something like that. Like, you ask for your own self, but this is the information that I have gotten when I have asked, that changing the functionality of this piece allows you to experience your life with just a little bit of trauma to process at a time, instead of having all the things come at you all at once. So you have to fix it. But geez, what was I just going to tell you? Oh, this also, I didn't even have a slide about this, but this also, all of this stuff that I'm talking about, this is why you work really hard. You think you've solved your problem. You think that you have, healed up the thing that you needed to heal up. And then a couple months later, a new trigger happens and you find yourself in the same space. And you're like, oh my gosh, I did so much work and I thought I fixed this. I thought I fixed this. Why isn't this fixed? And this is when people really lose faith in their healing process. They feel like they have done everything. They felt like they came a long way, and now here they are. And the secret is that they have come a long way, and they probably did clear all of it that was in their body. And then that opened up space. Every time you clear a trauma from your physical body through things like this work that we do together, more comes down the tube. That's the secret. More comes down the tube. And that's why you clear, clear, clear. You work so hard at healing your emotions. You're healing your beliefs. You're shifting how you think. Things are changing for you. And then more stuff keeps happening. It's this. It's because you are a being that has existed for millennia, and you have this whole cloud of unprocessed junk. You process the stuff that fit into your body. Your physical body processes it out. I mean, literally, you pee this stuff out. You use water, like your physical molecules of emotion are breaking apart. You drink some water, you flush the stuff out of your body and literally down the toilet. Like, it is a physical chemical process. You're clearing out space. More junk falls through the pipeline. And that's good. It's important. That's why it exists. And that's why we're here, is to be working out all of this backlogged stuff. But it's very frustrating when you don't understand what's going on. You don't understand that you really did make an enormous progress, and you really did clear out all of this stuff from your body. You cleared out all of these emotions from your body, but there's just more. Like, there's just so much above us that we need to clear. We are not here just to work out the stuff that happened in our childhoods. We're here to work out the reasons why we weren't perfect in the first place. Like, why were we imperfect? We have to figure it out and start working through that. And the thing is, we don't have to know all the answers. It's all in this cloud. We just have to be alive and keep breathing and do our life. And the stuff that we need to sort out is going to drip down on us, hopefully in a controlled way that's easy to manage. But sometimes it doesn't. When the piece is broken, that's when we get the waterfall. And so I created a session on this, and this is why I made this whole video today, because I don't know, it's been on my to-do list forever to make a video like this. And anyways, I finally did it, because I'm finally doing this session on this. And you can ask how to fix these things yourself. I mean, like, ask your intuition or whatever, but and the thing is, I do think these things do fix themselves at times. And this is why, again, people ask, like, well, first off, people think that this is a spiritual thing, and it kind of is, kind of just like how everything in the entire planet is a spiritual thing. And they'll say things like, how come you don't learn about this at church? Well, because first off, it doesn't matter to your eternal salvation. Second off, at least it doesn't matter right here, right now. But also, geez, I really feel like the tools that religions give us, they can fix these things naturally. When you tune into your higher power, when you are doing breath work, breathing deeply and getting relaxed like you might do in prayer or meditation. Doing these things, when you tune in to your intuition, or when you pray to your higher power and you ask for instructions on how to heal your life, I really think a lot of times the instructions that we get start the healing process naturally. And so a lot of times the people whose energy fields are just the absolute best, they've never done any kind of healing work like this in their whole lives, but they've been really not just like religious or spiritual, because I think both of those have weird connotations, but just like they have been working hard to bring their hearts into alignment with the divine in the way that they knew how. Okay. And so, yeah, things like scriptures, things like prayer, things, I mean, just pondering and meditating on these higher spiritual concepts. And here's the thing, because they bring us into alignment with natural law. The more in alignment we are with natural law, the more, I mean, everything changes for us. And that's like the whole point, is to learn how to be in alignment with these laws that are bigger than any religion. Again, like the laws of consequences, the laws that you should keep what you earn, the laws, I mean, that you shouldn't take things from other people. You know, we have these like different laws that govern the entire universe, and they're just bigger than everything. And when we tune into them and start trying to be better people however we know how, that's what starts the healing process. When we start healing ourselves that way and start tuning into our higher power and following instructions, I think it just naturally can start the healing process. And so anyways, a lot of people who have really great energy fields, they don't know anything about this kind of work, but they've worked really hard to be in spiritual alignment with universal law, even if they didn't know that's what they were doing. Okay. So I do think that these things can heal spontaneously. And you do see that from time to time, where people's lives were falling apart and then now they're just not. And why? And, there's a law, like all blessings are predicated on laws. Every good thing that you have that exists in this world, like there's laws that govern it. And if you live in alignment with those laws, you're going to have the good stuff come to you. And so part of this issue is figuring out which laws you need to adhere to better and figuring out where you're not in alignment with them. But anyway, so I made a session just about this trauma cloud, and how it works is you just follow along with the audio. Basically, I'm just going to talk you through it and clear out the issues that led to the trauma cloud breakdown in the first place. And then we're going to manually repair the trauma cloud in this session. And so I'll put a link in the comments, but I just want to mention that this is a part of your anatomy. Okay. This is not a religious fix. This is an anatomical repair. Just like if you got a kidney stone, maybe you would need surgery to like deal with the kidney stone. I don't know if that's true. I've never had one. Do people get surgery for kidney stones? But anyway, if that is a thing, your kidney is part of your total being, just like your trauma cloud is. Like they're both parts of you. They're both parts of your anatomy. This is an anatomical issue. When your kidney's not functioning right, you can go to a nephrologist and have kidney surgery, or you can take herbs. You can do all sorts of things to boost your kidney function. And it's kind of the same with your energetic anatomy too. It's just a piece of your body. Like it's just a part of yourself, And when you have a physical organ that's not functioning, you go to a doctor. When you have an energetic piece of your anatomy that's not functioning, you go to somebody that specializes in that, right? And so, geez, I talked to this guy the other day. He was upset that I talked about chakras, and he said, and so this was in a religious context, and he was like, if you study chakras, you're going to become a Hindu. You have to be so careful not to become a Hindu. And I just thought, what is this? Like, what is that? It's anatomy. Oh my gosh. If you study gallbladders, you're going to become I don't know, a medieval grave robber. Like, no, actually, like that's not a thing. This is anatomy. It's okay to know about your anatomy. You're supposed to know about it, and I think a lot of problems in the history of the world have come from people not understanding their own anatomy. Knowing your own body, both your spirit body and your physical body, that's really important. That's to me, and to me it's not a religious thing. Like, is having a body religious? Like, kind of, I guess, but like also it's just how it is. Like, it's just how you are. It's not a sin to look at your body and realize you have blood vessels, and it's not a sin to realize you have a physical heart, and like I said, a kidney and lungs and like knees and kneecaps and bones. Like, those are good to be aware of. And if they have a problem, you go to a doctor. So to me, it just makes sense that when it comes to issues of your energetic anatomy, it's kind of the same thing. Like if your energetic anatomy has a breakdown, well, there are people in this world that can actually see that and help you fix it. So like, it's the same thing. It's just going to the doctor. It's not, I don't know. To me, it's not a religious thing. We just quoted a bunch of theologians and stuff like that. But to me, this really transcends religion. It's anatomy. It's just anatomy. That's how it is to me. So here's the conclusion. You have your physical body, you have your energetic body or your spirit body, and they're all intertwined. Your experiences on this planet have a lot to do with how your energetic anatomy is functioning. And if your energetic anatomy is having a hard time, that's going to be reflected in your physical life and the experiences that you call into yourself. Because in my opinion, your body is kind of like a magnet. If you are having waterfalls of trauma, I invite you to consider the possibility that this part of your energetic anatomy is malfunctioning, and you ask your own body that. You ask, and you can ask, body, how would I know if this was malfunctioning? How would you tell me if I have a problem with this? How could I know for myself if this is real and if I have a problem with this? You ask your own self and ask your body to tell you in a way that you understand. And I love to do this. To ask myself, like, how will I understand the answer to the question I'm asking so that I can prime myself to actually like hear the answer in a way that I get. And that is how I pray myself. I just say like, God, send me the answer in a way that I easily and obviously understand. Like send me an answer that's so obvious I can't miss it. I really recommend everybody do that. And then again, working with somebody who specializes in like energetic anatomy is very similar to working with someone who specializes in physical body anatomy, in my opinion. This is an anatomical situation. It is as physical in its own way as a kidney stone is in its way, right? Like they're both physical issues. If you got into a car accident and exploded your kneecap, you would go in and have a kneecap repair. If you got into a car accident and it exploded your trauma cloud, you would go to somebody who can fix your trauma cloud, right? Like to me, it's just exactly the same thing. Maybe your kneecap could heal on its own. Like, I don't know, let's hold space for that. Maybe your trauma cloud can heal on its own. And I do believe that's definitely possible. But to me, the point of it, no matter how you fix this problem, the thing that I want you to take away from this is that it's an anatomical issue. I mean, it's an injury. It's a wound. Okay. It's a wound, just like if you got if you accidentally cut your finger while you were cutting some onions at dinner, like it's an injury. And when you have an injury like that, it causes you problems. Even if your problem is that now it's much more inconvenient to continue cutting the onions, got to get a Band-Aid on, all this stuff. Guess what? All of our injuries and wounds that we experience in any plane of our existence, they impact us and we need to fix them. And it's an anatomical issue that transcends religion. It transcends it. I believe it is bigger. I believe it is separate. But of course, everything is all related. And so, wow. Anyways, that's a whole lot of thoughts for you to think about today. Okay, well, thanks for listening. I hope this blew your mind in a good way. I hope that you tune in to your own soul and ask it where it is having some problems. If you experience that waterfall of trauma, ask your own self, what's going on? Ask your own self. Could this thing that I just told you about, could that have a part to play in what you're experiencing right now? And you can ask your own soul how it wants it to be fixed. And that is something that I always recommend to all of my clients and students. Like, you follow your own body, because your body is going to be able to give you the instructions on how it wants things addressed. And as you practice listening to it, that's when you develop this really great intuition and this really great ability to listen and take action. And the most important thing to me that you can do is get your own heart into alignment with God's heart, with the laws of the universe. That's the same thing. I feel like God is God because he's in complete 100% alignment with the laws of the universe at all times, right? And so we're going to get in alignment with our higher power, and we're going to listen to our own bodies that contain these incredible records of everything that we've been through, and they know what we need to go through here on this planet, and they're helping us do it. And so the more time you can spend just breathing and feeling your own body and listening to it, wow, the faster you're going to heal up your life in every single way, because your body is a magnet. It is calling to you these situations that match the things that you need to clear out of your system. The faster you clear out the junk from your system, the easier and more pleasant your life is going to be. And you will just see for yourself. I mean, like, you can see for yourself how this is true. I'm not going to tell you to believe me. I think you should ask for yourself, and ask for yourself how you're going to figure out if this is true or not, and just to learn it for yourself. So anyway, that's it for today. And I think that you are fabulous, and I hope that you have a very great day.